Shining bright lotus.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Welcome. So today we're going to look at precept number 9, Embody Compassion. I recognize and enlighten my greed, anger, and ignorance. I transform my negative emotions and act with equanimity, sympathetic joy, compassion, and loving kindness. So there's a lot in this precept. I churned over with this for quite some time this week, looking and thinking about it, discussing with some others. So it reminds me of our practice is not about erasing so-called negative emotions, but how to transform them. So the 3 poisons of it, as they're known of in Buddhism, greed, anger, and ignorance, are the very fuel for awakening if we meet them with mindfulness and compassion. And it also when I was talking about it today, a sheikh reminded me that greed is considered one of the 7 deadly sins in, I guess, Christianity. And so what is greed? Greed is coming from wanting that things aren't enough. I want more, there isn't enough, and maybe there's some fear behind that. And also it reminds me a lot about food, scarcity of food. Like if we don't get enough food, we're gonna die. So I better get some and have some more. And there's this kind of desperation. I get this sense of, and I've got to have some more, but there's never going to be enough. Because we get some more, but then, you want some more. And then it doesn't, then it goes to other things in our life, like money, and more of this, more clothes. Oh, my car's a bit old. It'd be really nice to have a better car, a bigger car, and so on and so on. And we're never satisfied. So I can find that where I get greedy, I can find where I want something else. And I can't just be with what is. I can be sometimes, but the habit, and I think a lot of it is to do with habit. So anger, how about anger? Anger, pushing away, resisting what is. And so if we see something outside of ourselves, or if I see something, I'll be angry about it. I'm angry about the world. I'm angry about that guy over there. What the hell's he doing? And I can feel it. And as I say it, I get tense in my body. And that's how we live. And then we put that out. So ignorance is turning away from what is and refusing to see clearly what actually is. And so if I step back and I take a deep breath and I look out of my window right now, actually it's quite beautiful. There's lots of trees and there's a blue sky with some clouds, and that's what is. And it's not always supposedly beautiful like that. There can be some ugly things too, but actually that is what's happening. If that's what's happening, then that's what's happening. And so these poisons, I think, are a bit hard of being human. And the path is not to deny them, but to recognize them and transform them. So I'm kind of breaking it down, the precept, going through it. So I transform them, my negative emotions. Well, I did kind of do a double take with negative, because particularly in our Sangha, we've been doing a lot of work with, we did the McLaren book and looking at emotions. So we can use emotions, and that includes anger. How can we use them then to not be in that kind of nasty kind of screwed up thing of how can we do that? So let's go on to equanimity. So in Sanskrit, it's upekkha, called upekkha, and it's a balance, the steady heart in the middle of life's storm. So it's loving what is. So even when I get angry, it's not like saying, well, it's okay to be angry, but it's just going, oh, take a step back. I'm angry. Oh, okay, that's what's happening. Or that guy over there, he's being an asshole. Oh, okay, well, maybe he is. Okay, maybe that's not the best thing to do, but being with it and accepting it and not saying that it's good or it's bad. And not getting overly excited with any success or equanimity. This is equanimity. Or so like, oh, it's great, oh my God, I really did that thing. Oh my gosh, I did it. And then, or, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I'm such a, so, okay, so you did it. Okay, that's great. And I remember Reishin actually sometimes says, and I think even Jumpo said it, would say, well, how was that then? Well, adequate, and actually they might have done a really good job or somebody, but not to get sort of all into the good and the bad of things. So that also reminds me, equanimity is the place of in Mondo, koan number 5. And Engo was very much part of this. He maybe doesn't know. I think I might have told him, and Jumpo, and the place that never changes. Oh my gosh, that was such a discovery for me. And so it's like, so the sky is there, and then there's clouds, and maybe it's going to rain, and then there's a storm, but the sky is always there. Or the ocean, where there's big waves. We live near the ocean, and sometimes there's really big waves, but down, right at the bottom, it's really still. And so equanimity would be the still place where nothing ever changes. So it's not coldness. It's an open heart that is not thrown off course by somebody blaming you. Or like, I was in the market this morning and it's really crowded, and I went to the coffee place, which was really crowded, and it's very kind of communal, and people that haven't met often sit together, and I kind of moved this chair a little bit, and this guy got really pissed off with me, and he picked up the chair and threw the chair down, and it hit my arm, and in the moment I was like, I watched myself go, I was ready to say something, I think, and I went, oh, okay. And I just let it be. I didn't say anything to him. Nothing. I didn't say anything. I just carried on with talking with my friends. But I felt some kind of a little shock in me, and I wasn't repressing it, but I felt like, oh, I don't have to go into a whole thing with him or a discussion. It probably would have got like a kind of, you did this and why did you do that? And, and then I thought, I kind of looked at him from the side, and I thought, oh, it didn't look like he was having a good time either. Like maybe he wasn't very happy. And so I think that with this, it's good to see where another person is coming from. They're suffering, and it doesn't always condone what they're doing, and they can be doing some awful things, but they must be deeply suffering. And I see that there are a lot of people like that in the world who are deeply suffering. So I'm reminded of a story that I read, and I think maybe Ekai also told this story once, I'm not sure, but Hakuin. So Hakuin, as we know in our lineage, was a great Zen master, but he lived a very simple life. And one day, one of the girls in the village where he lived became pregnant, but she wasn't married, and she was a simple girl, poor. And when her parents found out, they said, "Well, who was it? Who's the father? Who was it? Who was it?" And so she said, "Oh, well, it was Hakuin." And Hakuin, they were really like, he's in the temple and he's the teacher in the temple. They were really upset. They were furious. So they stormed over to Hakuin and shouted at him, and they said, and they took the baby and they said, "This is your baby, and my daughter's not married." And so they gave him the baby. So Hakuin said, they said, "This is your baby." She said, "It's your baby." And he said, "Oh, is that so?" And he took the baby and he kept the baby and he fed the baby and looked after it. And he got local people to help him and other monks, and his reputation was ruined, but he didn't make a defense or say, "Well, it wasn't me actually," and that went on. And about a year later, the girl saw what was happening and she went to her father and she said, "You know, Dad, it wasn't Hakuin. It was the guy in the village that works at he's the blacksmith's son, and it was him." And they were like, "Oh, but you said it was Hakuin." And they felt remorseful, and they went back to the temple and said to Hakuin, "You know, we're really sorry, and you know, she said it was you," and he said, "Oh, is that so?" And they said, "Yes, we'd like to have our grandchild back." And he said, "Oh, okay," and he passed the baby back. So this is an example, a story of equanimity. So meeting false accusations without feeling anger or blame or collapsing or retaliating, and he neither feared the anger or he didn't harbor it. He responded with care and respect. So So it's good to not fear anger, I think, not to be afraid of anger. And it's not, I've never felt anger. It's not, I haven't got a history of, it's not, I did hit my sister. I mean, I have done some stuff, but it's not like been a huge thing, and I don't want to, but I've had some anger, of course I have. So, but it's good, I think, not to be afraid of it. And like we learn in Mondo, how can we transform it? So it's practice. I think all of what we do is practice. It's practice. It's like, I play shakuhachi I'm not a great shakuhachi player. I really like it. And I haven't played too much lately, but recently I've started again, and the way I'm going to get a little better is by practicing. So I can pick it up and I might go make a really quite a nice note. It's like, oh, that's pretty good. And then it go, so, okay. But it's not just going to be like that. And my meditation is like, so I sit and I'll watch my breath, and then it'll be, oh, well, what about that? And then, oh, no, come back. So it's practice. So I think it's all practice, and that the transformation is practice. So with the anger, I can, as we do, so stop, take a breath, and a moment. So if there's that little gap between the initial and a gap, then maybe there's a potential for something else to happen. And we might not always get it right the first time, but we will the more we practice. That's been my experience anyway. So I think there's different kinds of anger. There's anger that's kind of self-indulgent, where you kind of get angry about life and love. You're always somebody that gets in the habit. So we can get into these not such good habits, like complaining, or life sucks and I haven't got this, and I'm angry, and they really piss me off over there, and all this stuff. So then we kind of drag it around, the anger, and then we think that that's who we are, that we don't even think it, because that would even be where ignorance comes in. If we haven't really looked at anything, we don't even know that we're dragging this bag of anger around. So that would be self-indulgent, I think. And I think there's another kind of more alive anger, like I read in that book, where is it, that by Diane Enshin, I think her name is, that were recommended for this class, and she talks about this woman whose child was killed in an accident with a drunk driver. So she created a society called Mothers Mad. It was Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, or Mothers Advising. And anyway, it was a positive thing, like how can we support people that have had loved ones killed in this way? How can we support the people that drink? How can we do something to support, rather than just saying, oh, it was so terrible? So I would say initially she was angry. And I also think sometimes in my own experience, I remember, I don't know, maybe a year ago, there was a woman who used to come a lot here. She had different things that were happening and always seemed to struggle, and somehow she always used to call me, oh, Nanda, can you help me, and this is happening. And so I'd often, I've got nowhere to stay, and so she'd come for a while, and then I might pay her a little bit to clean, or that she wouldn't have to pay rent but help around different things. And then I'd try and get her a little bit of work. Is there somebody else that could help? Anyway, that went on, and then there was one time I was just like a bit much. This is not necessarily a working thing, and is this really helping? So we talked about it, and I said, I think it's better that you really go and you find your own place, and I totally want that to happen for you. And so, but she needed a bit of time. So I think, I know whether it's a week or 2 weeks, I said. So anyway, I went down before that time was up, down to where she was staying on our land, and to ask her. And she said, I said, well, how are you getting on? Have you found anywhere? How's it going? And, oh, well, and then she was talked about she wanted a better towel, and it was not soft enough, and there's something else about all the things that I'd given, And I was like, I said, I don't give her a dirty towel. It was a clean towel. It might have been an old one, but it worked, And I just, in the moment, it was like, and I just said, I was angry and I was surprised. And she said, oh, what should I do? And I said, do you have to go? And it just came out like that. And then I thought, oh, I just stood there, and then I walked away. I thought, I don't want to get into continue. It was almost like a whoosh, like this. And she got up, she packed her bag, and she left, and she called somebody up, and somebody else helped her. And I really thought into that, and I felt that wasn't self-indulgent. I felt that it was just like a whack, to wake her up. And so it's good to see how these things work. I was a little, and it was gone. It was over and finished. And I saw her late some other time, and I said, how are you doing? I think I gave her a hug, and I don't know, maybe she said sorry, I don't know, but it was over. So So this precept directs us to live through balance and evenness of the heart, equanimity, and to rejoice in the happiness of others, and to be compassionate to ourselves for working with our greed, anger, and ignorance, and for other people to feel compassion, and to come from loving kindness and wish all beings well. This is the antidote. These are the antidotes that can transform. That's in my experience. So what is it in your experience? So, okay, so I'm going to finish in a minute. So just for a moment, just before we go, it'd like be about 2 minutes. Just close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes. And then recall a moment, a recent moment when you were angry. And just notice how it felt in the body. And then just take a deep breath into that place. And just stop and see that you don't have to react. And in your heart, you can say, may I meet this anger with awareness. May I transform it into wisdom. May I respond with compassion. So I invite us all to do this in our lives, that we may be the light that we do have inside us, atta deeper. So, and you can open your eyes when you're ready. So I'm just going to say the precept one more time. So I recognize and enlighten my greed, anger, and ignorance. I transform my negative emotions and act with equanimity, sympathetic joy, compassion, and loving kindness. Thank you.
Shining bright lotus.